Work continues here in Northwest Las Vegas on one more piece of flood control protection. Welcome to the Flood Channel. I'm your host, Beatriz Martinez. On today's episode, we'll take a look at this project and others we have in the works in Clark County. Before projects like the one here on Brent Lane can start, a lot of planning takes place. Projects begin with a long look at master plans, state law, funding options, and local entity needs.
Per Nevada revised statutes, we're required to keep a list of priorities, a project priority list. That list is projected out 10 years. And so we program all of our projects. We work with the member entities to program projects based on a number of factors. The heaviest weighted factors are the life safety factors that would deem a project suitable to program within the construction plan. We work with, as I said, all the member entities. That includes Clark County, City of Las Vegas, City of North Las Vegas, City of Henderson, Mesquite, and Boulder City. So each year we need to update this priority list because priorities change throughout the year, funding changes throughout the year, our projected funding changes throughout the year. And I work with, or the district works with all the member entities to basically form each entity's wish list of projects to get designed and constructed within the next 10 years.
Part of the planning process involves looking at available money and bond sales.
We work with each member entities to one, prioritize the projects based on life safety and the feasibility and logic of the programming, so the sequencing. We try to construct things from downstream to upstream when possible. So when we're going through the 10-year plan as the district works with the entities, we look at those items. It's like, does this make sense for this project to be constructed before the next phase of the project? Or do we need to switch them? Do we need to do them in a different order?
A Boulder Highway project currently in design illustrates why construction order matters.
This project goes from Sahara Avenue to Charleston Avenue on Boulder Highway. And that one is currently under design, and we just started a design project for Charleston Boulevard, which will connect to the north end of that project, which is the upstream end of the Boulder Highway project. Now, what we want to do, obviously, if we construct a facility, say in Charleston, before we had the Boulder Highway project in, we would have no place to discharge that flow. We avoid diverting flow unless we have a facility that's on the downstream end that can catch that flow and carry it where we want it to go.
Engineers at the Regional Flood Control District are assigned to work with entities based on specific watersheds.
We have engineers who review land development projects that have regional significance. Regional significance meaning that they are either adjacent to a regional flood control facility, or they are tying into a regional facility, or they're even constructing a regional facility. So we have, as I said, a land development engineer who's solely dedicated to reviewing those projects, and they are hands-on involved with the design process, reviewing process, construction process. Actually, they go out and they coordinate with the contractors. They go to the construction progress meetings. They stay on top of that and look out for district interests. We watch where our money goes, and we make sure that it's spent in a responsible way.
Project Neon is a major road construction project that does not involve any regional flood control funding. However, it does involve moving key district facilities and requires coordination and oversight.
Project Neon, just the I-15 improvements through that corridor, requires the relocation of one of our facilities. It's not a new facility, it's an old facility that needs to be relocated just for the I-15 improvements. That's why we don't have funds into it that is funded by others. But however, we have been highly involved in the design process, even the construction process, as far as attending progress meetings, visiting the site to watch construction and make sure that our facility is being built the way we want it constructed. NDOT has been a terrific partner in that. And they've kept us well informed, and we've done everything that we can do to assist them as well, both in the design and during the construction phase of the project.
The district partners with other agencies on many projects. Recently, a lot of transportation projects have included flood control facilities.
The US 95 widening project, the improvement project, going all through the US 95 corridor with NDOT is we are also going to have our regional facility constructed along with that project. It makes complete sense, you know, if the timing of the projects work out and the funding for the projects work out, to construct these projects together. It saves us money. It saves NDOT money. It is less of a problem with the traveling public, because you know we only need to tear up a road once as opposed to twice. If say RTC came in with a project and did a road improvement project, and a year later we came in and tore up that road improvement project to put in a box culvert, I don't think anybody'd be too happy about that. So we try to coordinate these as much as possible. We can share in a great deal of costs, mobilization costs, demob costs, and several other items. That tends to save money to the taxpayer ultimately, and to RTC, and to Regional Flood, and to NDOT, or whatever agency we're working with.
This particular project started 6 months ago, right here at Floyd Land Park. It should be ready for next flash flood season. The Brent drainage system is being installed alongside Brent Lane from Floyd Land Park to Durango Drive. American Civil Constructors, formerly Meadow Valley, is building the $4.1 million project.
This facility will collect flows at Durango Drive and take them directly to the environmental enhancement area. This is phase one of a two-phase project. Phase two will take and extend that box culvert that we have at Durango Drive and carry it westward towards El Capitan within Brent Lane, and then northward to Iron Mountain on El Cap. Up in the northwest area, it has been prone to flooding for years. We have completed probably well over $120 million worth of projects up in that area to try to clean up the flooding up in that general vicinity. And this is just one of the pieces of the pie to help pick up the localized and the regional flows that culminate east of US 95.
The contractor had just began work right here last summer when a flash flood showed everyone exactly why the project was needed.
We had quite a bit of flow coming down Brent Lane, washed out several driveways along the Brent Lane alignment, eroded out the shoulders of the street, actually tore up quite a bit of the street upstream of or to the west of where this project is. And then that flow was conveyed through the project site as construction was going on. It was a good thing we had our contractors out there at the time. They mobilized quickly and dug trenches and kept the street as clean as possible during a rainfall event. But yeah, we like to build facilities where it floods, and that's one of the risks for the contractor and for us constructing these facilities, is because when it rains, it floods where we're building our facilities, if we're building our facilities in the right spot.
A major project is underway in Las Vegas Boulevard from St. Rose Parkway to Silverado Ranch Boulevard. Contractors from Las Vegas Paving are installing reinforced box culverts under the road to collect water that otherwise would flood the area. It's a massive $30 million project, including funding from the Regional Transportation Commission and Clark County Special Improvement District. The Regional Flood Control District's share is $6.3 million.
The benefits of the project is that it opens up that entire corridor, the southern corridor of Las Vegas Boulevard, for development. That's why we have developer funds created with the Special Improvement District going into this project, and we also have RTC funds. So it's a street project as well with the RTC improvements.
Across town, in the heart of Las Vegas, workers are building a $10 million storm drain in Washington Avenue from Martin Luther King Boulevard to Rancho Drive.
This is an old area of town. Great deal of challenges with this project due to it being an old area of town. There are old utilities in the ground. There's traffic. It's a very narrow corridor to be building a facility in. So there are traffic constraints. This project to have the least amount of impact to the traveling public as possible. With Project Neon going on in the same area, there's quite a few road restrictions, lane restrictions, and everything else. And so we worked with them with their schedule and our schedule to put this project out at the best possible time to avoid more impacts to the traveling public. There are schools in the area. That was one of the challenges of the project. We had a lateral in Tonopah Avenue, which is adjacent to an elementary school, and we had to complete that before school started. And that, although that was a small component of the overall system, it was a very big component as far as disruption to the traveling public if we hadn't had that complete.
The project began last June and is expected to be finished by July of this year. But before it's done, workers need to go through the Rancho intersection.
They're going to go up and through the Rancho intersection. So, and that'll be towards the end of the project. So, towards the I don't know what the exact schedule is, but later on in the project, March in that area, they will be constructing the facility through the intersection of Rancho and Washington, which is a giant challenge, just because of the network of utilities that are located in that intersection, traffic control restraints in that intersection. It's right near the freeways where Project Neon has work going on as well. So that will be a difficult portion of the project, and there will certainly be public notice before that portion of the project commences.
Workers are putting the finishing touches on a project in the middle of Interstate 15 near Cheyenne Avenue. The Central Freeway Channel began in June and will be finished this spring.
There are a number of challenges on the projects, mainly involving doing work in I-15. Traffic is a big issue, and constructing underground facilities underneath on and off ramps is also a difficult procedure.
There are currently 10 projects under construction throughout the county, from levees to storm drains and major freeway expansion work. One project that is expected to begin in January is the massive $68 million Centennial Parkway project. The flood control component is $27 million and involves installing 2 miles of reinforced concrete box culverts along the west side of US 95, from the Beltway to Grand Teton, and along US 95 at Kyle Canyon.
And this is a connect the dots piece. We have facilities downstream at the Beltway channel that we're connecting to, and we have facilities upstream at Grand Teton that we're connecting to. So this was kind of an open hole in our system right now, because currently up in the northwest area around Centennial Hills area, there's quite a bit of flow that comes from the west, goes underneath US 95, and has quite a bit of flooding impact on Centennial Hills, basically. We've done a lot of work in the area in the last 10 years, probably over $120 million worth of work in the last 10 years up in this area. But this is a hole in the system that flows still discharge and are conveyed underneath the US 95 and flood existing streets and homes up in that area. So this will tie that together. It will collect all that flow west of US 95 and convey it to the Beltway channel.
This project will alleviate flooding in the Shady Pines development.
This is a very big project for us. It's been a project that we've probably the most bang for the buck up in the northwest area of any project that we put in at this point.
Each one of these projects is built to a very high standard, protection against the 100-year storm. So what exactly does that mean?
As general manager of the Regional Flood Control District, I often hear people tell me that if we have a 100-year storm event, we're not going to have another storm in 100 years. And really that isn't true. Mother Nature isn't that predictable. What a 100-year storm is it's a probability, really. It's really a 1% chance storm is what we call it. It's a storm that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. So we can look at it with an analogy. We can look at it like this. So you have a roulette wheel, and it's a special roulette wheel that has 100 spaces, and 99 of those spaces are red and 1 space is black. So when you spin the ball around that roulette wheel, you have a 1 out of 100% chance of that ball landing on that one black square. Conversely, you have a 99% chance of it landing on a red square. And so that's the way we think of a 100-year storm, is a 1% probability, or that 1% chance of that ball landing on that one black square out of those 100 slots. So what does a 100-year storm mean? Okay, we know it has a 1% chance. Well, what does that mean? Well, really what we do is we look at history. We look back at storms that we've had in the past, and we try to determine over the course of all that data, of all that history, how often does a certain magnitude storm hit. And in the situation where we have a 1% chance of that storm occurring throughout history, that's the magnitude we use for the 100-year storm event. So it's really based on history. It's based on what we've seen in the past. Just like it's possible on this roulette wheel for the ball to land on that one black square 2 times in a row, similarly we could have a 100-year storm event occur 2 years in a row. Although the probability of that is very low, just like on the roulette wheel, it's hard to land on the same one black square 2 times in a row. The probability is really low for that, but it is still a chance that that could happen. We have had 100-year storm intensities in Las Vegas in the not too distant past. And keep in mind that you can have a 100-year storm, say in Henderson, when it's dry in North Las Vegas, or vice versa. You could have a 100-year storm in North Las Vegas when it's dry in Henderson. So kind of depends on where the storm is occurring, but it is possible to have 100-year storm events. It has happened in the past.
The 100-year storm threshold is a good target for building facilities, not too conservative and not a frivolous use of money.
So the district is charged with providing flood protection for the community, and we have to decide, well, what level of protection do we want to provide? And so the consensus has been to design for that 1% chance, or the 100-year flood. And the reason we do that is because it's a pretty sizable flood. We're providing lots of protection to the community, but it's not a flood that's too big that we're designing for a flood that may not, that the probability of that flood occurring is so remote that it may never occur in our lifetimes. And so we don't want to spend too much money on a facility that's way too big for a storm that maybe just doesn't have the probability of occurring that often. It is possible to have a 500-year storm event or a 1,000-year storm event. So in our analogy, again, going back to the roulette wheel, instead of having 100 slots for a 1% chance storm, we'd have 500 slots. We'd have 1 black one and 499 red ones. So you can see how remote the possibility is of having a 500-year storm event just based on that analogy. So it is possible to have a storm event that's so big it would only occur, the probability of it occurring is only 1 in 1,000. It is possible it could happen here, and it can happen anywhere. Just like the 1% chance storm, we could also have a 10-year storm or a 10% chance storm. And so in that situation, going back to our roulette wheel, we have 10 spaces now on the roulette wheel. 9 of them are black, 1 of them is red, and so you can see that the probability of having a 10-year storm is much greater than having a 100-year storm event. And so because that probability is greater, that storm is smaller, it occurs more frequently, we would expect it to occur 10% of the time.
Lake Mead is full of life, a seemingly endless aquatic parade, attracting and sustaining busy desert creatures. It's one of the most diverse ecosystems in Nevada, with species found nowhere else on Earth. But every time soap suds run down your driveway, oil drips in the streets, fertilizer washes off your lawn, or random trash gets swept in our storm sewers, their home gets a little uglier. They get a little sicker. If we don't take simple steps to change our ways, soon you'll wonder where all our friends have gone. It's time to clean up our act, Southern Nevada. To get your home or business lake-friendly certified, visit belakefriendly.com.
Oh, don't take Charleston. Don't take Charleston.
If you have a fortune teller, you know when flash floods are coming. If you don't, you need the Flood Spot app. Get it free today at BeFloodSafe.com.
And don't have the chili dog for lunch. Trust me with this.
The detention basins here at Floyd Land Park report important weather information to the district during storm events. We can tell how much rain is falling and how much water is in the detention basins. To keep all of those 200 gauges working well, a lot of maintenance has to happen. Clark County has more square miles than New Jersey, and keeping tabs of weather in all corners of the county is more than a full-time job for 3 district staffers.
As of 2 months ago, we just installed our 200th gauge within Clark County, plus a couple others in Lincoln County, one in Arizona. But we do maintain all 200 sites twice a year. We do preventive maintenance in spring and fall when the weather is more comfortable. And part of our process is to come up with a list every day of gauges that are relatively close to each other, so we're not driving too far. And one at a time, we'll approach the station. We will check the battery. We actually remove the battery, which will be tested back in the shop, and replace it with a fresh battery. We will test the solar panel for sites that can maintain a solar panel to make sure that the batteries will continue to be charged over the next roughly 6 months until the next visit. We will check the radio to make sure that the radio is putting out enough power so that we can receive the data. We will also check the antenna and the antenna cable to make sure we're not getting anomalous reflected power that could damage the radio. And if that's the case, we'll change them out as needed. And we will replace the tipping buckets annually. The tipping buckets are what are used to monitor rainfall. And the tipping buckets we pull from the field. We take them back to the office to recalibrate.
Sometimes, gauges that were easy to maintain become very hard to access. 6 months ago, crews were easily able to drive this rocky road, located off a power line road, just about 4 miles off Interstate 15 near Jean. But on a recent December day, the road was not just bumpy, it was impassable. And the gauge is 4 miles away at the base of McCullough Hills. On this morning, the road won.
The road has been rutted out gradually over the years, just from frequent use, not just by vehicles like ours, but it's a popular road for off-road travel. Road races have been held over there, and that will impact the road over time, of course. And plus, Mother Nature is another concern. After a heavy rain near the McCullough Hills occurs, it's very common for the nearby gullies to wash out that segment of road as they cross the road itself.
In addition to 200 gauges, the staff also maintains 6 repeaters. The repeaters are located high above the desert floor and carry signals from far away, back to the district's offices. One of the repeaters is atop Mount Potosi.
We drive up to the peak, we take it out of its protective canister, and maintain it similarly to a weather station where we change the battery twice a year. We test the solar panel to make sure that the battery is charged. A repeater uses more power than a weather station. For example, a weather station's radio will typically put out 5 watts. A radio repeater will use 20 watts, but the radio repeater transmits far more frequently than a weather station. So it's even more critical for us to maintain the solar panel and make sure the battery is going to be doing its job over the next 6 months.
One of the repeaters, on Virgin Peak, can only be accessed by helicopter. Others are so off the road, it's hard to sometimes remember exactly how to get to them.
If the roads are properly maintained and it hasn't rained in a while, getting to and from a site's Usually not a challenge. After a heavy rain, especially during the summer monsoon season, dirt roads can easily wash out. And if that's the case, then we have to evaluate our choices. If the segment of road that's washed out isn't washed out too badly, sometimes we can use hand tools and patch up the road ourselves and be on our way. Some gauges, we deliberately place them far enough off the road so they're not easily visible from the road because vandalism can be an issue. But at other locations where vandalism is not a problem and we have secured permission to do so, we can drive up to those gauges, and the ones we can drive up to are far more easily serviceable because we don't have to carry a lot of equipment, and we can work out of the back of the truck, which minimizes the amount of climbing we have to do on a ladder. It's over at our Fossil Ridge location. We park the truck and we have to walk 4/10 of a mile to the gauge, and of course 4/10 of a mile back. And if we happen to realize we need to replace a part, or worse yet, we forgot to bring a part on our initial trip, guess what? We have to do that trip all over again. You know, it did rain in the area, and the site did not report any rainfall. We would come out here and try and figure out why, and that would certainly be a reason to not report rainfall. But that's why we get paid the big bucks to come out here and maintain these things. There are things you have to be mindful of course. Any cactus in the area, you don't want to kick that. They'll definitely leave a mark. And don't want to step on any holes. You never know what critter dug them or might be living in a hole. In the 11 years doing this job, I have not come across a snake in the desert. I've seen a few desert tortoises. But the one thing that will freak out a novice on this job is if you're carrying your gear to a site and a bush will suddenly rustle as a large rabbit bounds away. If you're not expecting that, that will cause your heart to jump.
The winter months bring much better weather to keep all those district gauges better maintained. But no matter the temperature outside, you can always get a lot of information about the district on our website at regionalflood.org, or you can go to Twitter and Facebook for the most up-to-date information.